200 resumes to find a job more than 100 miles from his house. Normally, he would have had 20 job offers in a week. Micro Semi, a boutique company in Metro Phoenix, Micro Semi, makes chips. Next April 2011, 300 white-collar workers are going to Malaysia as we lose that workforce. I am disgusted with Washington when we've lost our blue-collar workforce. They don't care about textiles. They don't care about steel. They don't care about the white-collar workforce. And guess what we're losing now? Jobs we never thought that could go overseas, some accounting, some legal. And guess what happens if you break your hip at 3 o'clock in the morning? Where may your x-ray be read? No. India. Why is this nonsense happening? The concept of free trade, in my mind, is completely wrong. We need to think in terms of equal trade. We are losing our jobs, which is the value of our economy. That's where the value of our economy comes from. There are a number of reasons why this is happening. Let me touch on 2. So don't yell at me if it's the only 2. But my 2 here, number 1, corporate tax rate. The federal corporate tax rate is how much? You guys are well versed. 35.0% for the federal corporate tax rate. The second highest in the world. Who's higher? Japan. Second reason, regulations. Stifling, killing our industries. My favorite example, the US steel industry. What was once the powerhouse when my parents were growing up, now has more than 25 to 27 regulatory bodies imposing more than 5,700 regulations on the US steel industry. We used to be, again, the powerhouse. We now produce 30% less steel than little tiny Japan. What am I going to do about that, you might ask? What am I going to focus on in Washington? 2 things. Again, not the only 2, but these need to be clear. Number 1, an immediate reduction in the federal corporate tax rate from 35 to 15%. We've spent 6 months looking at this particular topic. We're absolutely convinced this is going to help drive jobs back, help start new economies, and eliminate the loss of jobs. That will bring us from the second highest in the world to one of the lowest in the world. Second, those stifling regulations need to go away. We cannot continue along this pathway. We cannot have Japan beating us. Fourth topic I say for last, because now to me it's the fundamental core of what's going on, is the economy as a whole. There's significant uncertainty with everybody I talk to. There's a complete lack of fiscal responsibility in Washington. They are spending money that they don't have and borrowing from our children's future. The debt right now is how much? A little over 13 trillion, going to 14 trillion before the year is out. Per taxpayer in the United States, that is approximately $125,000. Did anybody in this room sign up for that? No. Is there going to be a budget this year? No. That hasn't happened in almost 2 decades. Why? That's just nonsense. But what will the actual yearly deficit be this year? Approximately $1.6 trillion approximately. Mr. Obama's answer to that is to set up a commission that will look into this problem, which will be composed, now come on, be fair to him, it'll be composed of 6 Democrats and 6 Republicans. However, there's 6 more people he gets to appoint. And when is that commission going to report its findings? After the elections. Here's a disturbing statistic. Next year in 2011, the ratio between our debt and the gross domestic product will hit about 94%. The last time it was that bad was in 1947, when the economy was robust and we grew out of that. Now you should say to me, well, what are you going to do about that? I want to thank you. I'm going to focus on one critical thing that 6 months ago I didn't think was quite possible, but now talking to people in the Tea Party movement, friends, neighbors, I do think it's possible. We need, folks, what? New president. Well, besides that. You should come on the Johnny Carson show. A balanced budget. Ideally in the form of a balanced budget amendment, but a balanced budget. Now here's the win. If the Republicans and the Democrats and the Independents can agree on a balanced budget, if we can start out with that fundamental principle, we have all won. Then the Republicans and Democrats can argue all day long how much for defense, entitlements, education, whatever you want to spend it on. But if we can agree on that, we have won. Our campaign is wearing red armbands that Rio has in the back, and they say, stop the bleeding. Implication, fiscal responsibility. That's my platform on those 4 critical topics. Now, in 1 or 2 more minutes I'm going to summarize, but I want to talk about the race. In CD5, there's 6 Republicans. I've met them all, gone out to Starbucks with almost every one of them. They're nice folks. In public, we have the same goal of taking out the Harry Mitchell seat. But let me tell you, it's more precious than that. It's no longer about just removing Harry Mitchell. It's about putting the right person in Washington because 2010 is critical. My campaign in public and behind the scenes has not done anybody any bashing, but I want to point out the differences between myself and the other candidates. So let me just indulge you in that for a second. 7 critical differences. Number 1, I'm the only doctor running Republican or Democrat. We have a healthcare problem, you guys, in the United States. It's getting worse. In Congress right now, guess how many doctors have an emergency background? 0. One of the major problems in our healthcare system is the emergency room, which is where I come from. Second, military, Republican or Democrat. No one has a military background, and I come from an operational fighter unit. You guys, we have 2 wars. Iran that may have nuclear bombs now or will soon. The Korean area is kind of a powder keg, and our southern border is a mess. Third, endorsements. I've gotten a lot from great citizens. I've not gone after traditional politicians. 50 doctors who know me for the most part have endorsed me. A radio talk show host, Rudy K. from KKNT, I'm the only person he's ever endorsed. A TV talk show host. One of my favorite endorsements from Lieutenant Colonel Winnie Paul, who endorsed me when she was in Kandahar, Afghanistan. And this week I was endorsed by the Arizona 2010 Project, which is a huge endorsement. Thank you. 4th thing, leadership. People ask, hey, you have no political experience. I'm like, yeah, I have no political experience, that's why I'm going. I think that's a positive, but you should know I've had leadership experience. I ran for the state of Indiana, the Air National Guard from a medical point of view. I was their state air surgeon. Medical-wise, I've started up a trauma center. I was the youngest person in the United States to start up a major trauma center. I'm on trauma boards in Arizona now, so I think I've got some leadership skills. 5th topic, important. How many people in my race have written papers, position papers, former position papers on topics? 1, me, sorry. The healthcare plan, the border plan, we're going to release in 1 or 2 weeks our jobs economy plan. 5th, forums. It's important to get out and meet with the constituents, the American people, my neighbors. None of the other candidates, Republicans or Democrats, have held any forums this year. We've hosted 8. The topics have been border security, healthcare, jobs and the economy. The last one was on jobs and the economy in Tempe with 5 speakers. Our border security forum had 7 speakers, including Sheriff Joe, 185 people and 3 TV stations. We will continue to host forums through the campaign and into Washington so that you guys can get to talk to me. And the last thing has been media. Huge amount of media exposure for a campaign of this nature. A couple of TV shows, 3.5 hours on the radio. There's been a lot of excitement about the citizen legislature type of concept. And let me summarize. 2010 is going to define America. It will be the most important election of our lifetime. Bad news. Pathway to socialism. Bad news. People in Washington who do not have our best interest in heart. Bad news. We are 1 paycheck away from a disaster. The good news, people like Randy, you guys in the audience, the Tea Party movement is the core of the United States, and you guys are going to help take back Washington. If you're in CD5, I would appreciate your vote. If you're outside of CD5 and you like what you're here, please tell your friends and neighbors within our district. Go to our website. All these position papers, videos, and articles are up on the website. And again, thank you for your time. Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chris.